initially was he empowered six disciples to go to London and start a temple and establish the movement in London. Six disciples. And they were trained under Prabhupada only for 1 year. And so they went there 2 years? 2 years, okay. And then they went there and they started to make inroads. They contacted George Harrison and a lot of devotees started to come. And eventually they organized a Rath Yatra also. And Rath Yatra was very big, huge. And in the newspapers, the Radha was compared to like Nelson stand, Nelson column or something. It's a famous thing in London. So they were comparing, just like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the cart is compared to, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami compares the Jagannath cart to something. What is that? As high as what? Taj Mahal? No, as high as Meru mountain. So like that, the London newspaper compares the Jagannath cart to this Nelson column, which is one of the famous at that time at least. So after all that is over, quite successful, one devotee was telling Prabhupada, you know what? This mayor had the London mayor, he had an order against parades since 1962. They were not allowing any parades because it's getting difficult to control and all of that. And so the permit process was very, very arduous. Then Prabhupada was inquiring, then how did you do it? So the devotee who actually succeeded in getting the permits, he came and he said, Prabhupada, in the application, we just wrote 3 hand-pulled carts in a parade. And they thought some 3 hand-pulled carts by some children or something. And then they approved it. And then Prabhupada, he was silent and he said, this is our line. Just like Vamana Dev, he said only 3 paces of land. And then what eventually happened? He took over the whole universe from Bali Maharaj. So welcome to Vamana Dev. So everything is in Krishna consciousness. Whenever the Lord does, that becomes transcendental. Whether it is cheating or whether it is stealing, whether it is killing, showing angry, compassion, naughtiness, mischievousness, everything is absolute in nature. And it is praised. That art of cheating is praised by, who is that Dashavatara Stotra author? Jayadev Goswami. So what is that verse that we sing for Vamana Dev? Chalayasi vikramane balimadbhuta vamana padanakha rajanita jana pavana keshavadhrita vamana rupa jai jagadisha hare jaya jagadisha hare jaya jagadisha hare. So chala means cheating or covered. So Chalayasi, he has cheated. And cheated whom? Balim. Bali Maharaj, he cheated. Chalayasi Balim. And he did something very extraordinary. Vikramane. Vikramane means great, humongous, Herculean task. What is that? Of conquering the whole universe with just 3 steps. So he did it in the garb of a dwarf Brahmana. Chalayasi Vikramane Balim Adbhuta Vamana, by taking this form of Vamana. And when he took that second step, the first step, the lower planets, and second step, the higher planets are covered. So when he took the second step, that lotus feet of Lord Vamana, by now he has occupied the whole universe with his huge form, that lotus feet went and touched the layers of the universe. You know, these outside layers of the universe. And it had penetrated these universe layers. Just imagine the thickness. It is said that there is earth layer, earth, water layer, air, fire, ether. Like that, there are 7 layers. And then each of these layers got penetrated, billions of miles thickness. And from the outside of the universe, Mother Ganga came inside. The Karana Jala, which was outside, where Karanodaka Sai Vishnu takes his Karanodaka lies on the Karana ocean, that Ganga water came inside. So that is the origin of Mother Ganga. That's how Mother Ganga came inside this universe. Pada Nakha Neera Janita Janapavana. Pada Nakha means the nails of his lotus feet. It penetrated this shell of this universe, and Mother Ganga came. And Janita Janapavana. It is purifying everyone in this world. So that is the significance of the appearance of Vamana Dev. Now, if you talk about the 6 circumstances of Vamana's appearance, so these demons headed by whom? Bali Maharaj, they had taken over the whole heavenly kingdom because they have become quite powerful by the blessings of their spiritual master. And the demigods had to go and flee and take shelter of the forests. And they are quite morose, and the demons have conquered everything. And the mother of the demigods, Aditi, she prays to the Supreme Lord, and the Lord decides to come and help in the form of Vamana. So in the scriptures it is said that this is the 3rd time Vamana had come. So there are 3 times Vamana had come in this kalpa. What is the kalpa means? Kalpa means Lord Brahma's day. How many Manus come in Lord Brahma's day? One kalpa is 48 hours, huh? Okay. Anyone taking quiz marks? Okay, somebody named Kanta. It's not quite right. So there are 14 Manus which appear in one day of Brahma. So, huh? No. 71 cycles. Yeah. Each Manu reigns for 71 cycles of yugas. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga is 4 yugas. Like that, 71 cycles, 1 Manu. Like that, 14 Manus. So we are in the 7th Manvantara. So in the first Manvantara itself, Lord Vamana came, and he did the similar pastime when the sacrifice was being performed by a demon king called Vaskala. And the second time Lord Vamana came was in the 7th Chatur Yuga of the current Manvantara. And the sage which was performing was Dhundu. He appeared, and this is the 3rd time. So even though Bhagavatam describes, the scriptures mention that 3 Vamanas had come. 3 times Vamana. So this Vamana is a very special appearance. 3 times he had come in this kalpa itself. So Vamana had come, answering the prayers of Mother Aditi. And now Srimad Bhagavatam describes a beautiful description here. I'll read a little bit. Describing Lord's beauty. If you're watching the DT, and you can note these characteristics of the Lord and just absorb your minds on the Lord, how the Lord appeared. So here it is said, this is from Canto 8, Chapter 18, text 1. I'll read from the middle. His 4 hands were decorated with a conch shell, club, lotus, and disc. He was dressed in yellow garments that matched. And his eyes appeared like the petals of a blooming lotus. Absolutely. I'm going to ask questions on Zoom. So his eyes appeared like what?
Lotus flower.
Yes, very nice. The next. The body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, dash in complexion. Which color? Red in complexion, right? Blackish. Blackish in complexion, was freed from all inebrities. His lotus face decorated with earrings resembling dash. There's one particular living entity it resembles. Fish, alligator. Alligator is quite close. Actually, Makara, it's not quite an alligator, but it was written as sharp. Yasya nanam makara kundala charu karna. It said Krishna's form is described in Vrindavan form. Mother Yashoda decorates him with makara kundala. And so like that. So here also it is said, his earrings resemble like sharks. He appeared very beautiful. And on his bosom was the mark of Srivatsa. He wore bangles on his wrists, armlets on his arms, a helmet on his head. There is no helmet, but this is not quite the form that he appeared with, but this is the form that he went to Bali Maharaj. He appeared with a helmet on his head, a belt on his waist, a sacred thread across his chest, and ankle bells decorating his lotus feet. So what is on his chest here? Srivatsa. Is that Nitish or Danya? Nitish is saying Danya. Okay, what else is there on his chest?
The Brahmanical thread.
The Brahmanical thread, yes. And then there is one mark of something. What is the mark on his chest? Did he join? One of the students' names, one of the children names. He lives in Pleasanton. He didn't join, I think.
Danya already said she was.
Oh, Danya already said. Danya is getting first in everything. Okay. So, and then the next verse. An uncommonly beautiful garland of flowers decorated his bosom. And because the flowers were extremely fragrant, a large group of bees, making their natural humming sounds, invaded them for honey. So we should not be scared of bees. That means they are seeking the Lord's presence when they come to us. When the Lord appeared, wearing the Kaustuba gem on his neck, his effulgence vanquished the darkness in the home of Prajapati Kashyapa. And then, after a few verses, it continues how his ceremony happened. So the Lord appeared like this, and then a ceremony was conducted by the sages. And awarding him as a Brahmana child. So what happened here? The Lord appeared in his original form with ornaments and weapons in his hands. Although this ever-existing form is not visible in the material world, he nonetheless appeared in this form. Then in the presence of his father and mother, he assumed the form of Vamana. So he has transformed into, so whatever I explained, this was the original form he appeared. And then he transformed into, he assumed the form of Vamana, a Brahmana dwarf, a brahmachari, just like a theatrical actor. When the great sages saw the Lord as brahmachari dwarf Vamana, they were certainly very pleased. Thus they placed before them Kashyapa Muni, the Prajapati, and performed all the ritualistic ceremonies. So at this ceremony, different demigods came and they gave different gifts. Okay. So let's see who will remember this. The sun god personally uttered the Gayatri mantra. Brihaspati offered the sacred thread, and Kashyapa Muni offered a straw belt. Mother Earth gave him a deer skin, and the demigod of the moon, who is the king of the forest, gave him a Brahma Danda, the rod of a brahmachari. His mother gave him cloth for underwear, and the deity presiding over the heavenly kingdom offered him an umbrella. Lord Brahma offered a water pot. The 7 sages offered him kusha grass. And Mother Saraswati gave him a string of Rudraksha beads. So Lord Vamana wore Rudraksha beads. And Kuvera gave him a pot for begging alms. Mother Bhagavati, the wife of Lord Shiva, gave him his first alms. So now, so who gave what? Sun god, what did he give? I'll change the sequence. I'll change the sequence. So what did okay, Gayatri Mantra, yes. So what did the 7 sages offer him? Wow, you're all so wonderful. What did his mother give him? Cloth for underwear, like all mothers. Take care of their babies. Uh, what did the moon god give? Let's see what the people on Zoom has to say. What did the moon god give? Huh? Yes, the Brahmadanda, the rod of a brahmachari. And what did Indra give him? Indra gave him an umbrella. So that means even heavenly planets may be quite hot, huh? Like today. And what did Mother Saraswati give him? Rudraksha beads. Rudraksha mala, yes, Rudraksha beads. So in this way, Lord Brahma, then Vamana proceeded to that event, and there they underestimated him. But his spiritual master recognized, oh, here is the Lord coming in this garb. He's going to take away everything. So Bali Maharaj initially offered everything. I'll give whatever you want. But then his spiritual master said no. So Bali Maharaj rejected his spiritual master, because he was the one who taught that Vishnu should be worshipped. And he's now saying, don't worship Vishnu. He will take away everything. What is this? So he gave up the connection of his spiritual master. So that is why Bali Maharaj is a wonderful example of a Mahajana. How to, and sometimes if you by mistake accept a wrong spiritual master, there is nothing wrong in giving up that spiritual master if they are not representing properly. So he gave up that connection and he said, okay, you take these 3 steps. And we know what happened. And Lord Vamana, he occupied everything in the universe with 2 steps only. And he didn't have anything anywhere to keep the 3rd step. And so he said, Bali Maharaj said, you keep it on my head. So he kept it on his head and he took Bali Maharaj. And so can we mute Satish? Satish, can we mute? Can you please mute Satish? Hare Krishna. So he took Bali Maharaj completely, and his body was owned by Vamana Dev. But actually, he gave a biggest boon to Bali Maharaj, that he gave the kingdom of Sutala planet, and Vamana Dev himself stayed as the doorkeeper for the Sutala planet even now. So one of the lower planets, so below the earthly planets, there are 7 lower planets. Sutala planet is ruled by Bali Maharaj, and the gatekeeper is Vamana Dev. So even though he took away everything, he gave everything, his personal association he gave. So from this pastime, we should learn several things. Number 1, anybody can be a beggar to a rich man in any time, and a rich man to a poor man in no time. That's what happened for Bali Maharaj. In no time, his fortune got changed. So we should not become puffed up with our borrowed plumes, borrowed from Krishna. So because any moment it can be changed. The second thing is, like how Bali Maharaj accepted the mercy. Whatever the Lord reciprocates with us, that should be accepted as the mercy, even though it may be in the form of taking away. It may seem like the Lord has taken away everything from us, but it should be accepted as the Lord's mercy. See what Bali Maharaj got in return. Again, going back to that same video I was talking, Prabhupada's video, there was a recorded voice of Prabhupada. He was saying, how he lost his father, because his father was very affectionate to Prabhupada, and to the extent that he was pampered like anything. And night time, Prabhupada would sometimes cry when he was a child, I want to eat puri. Right now, I want to eat puri. And his mother would say, no, you cannot eat puri. This is not the right time to eat puri. And then he would be very adamant. And his father would say, if he asks puri, he will get puri. so, so he, so he would be very affectionate. So Prabhupada was recalling the affection of his father and said, I lost my father, but see, so many fathers I have got, so many mothers I have got. Similarly, many times he said, I lost all my wealth, but see, now I've got crores and crores of wealth. So the Lord may take away, we should accept everything as Lord's mercy, even if apparently we lose everything, like Bali Maharaj did, because he would get the highest perfection. Thirdly, what are the things we can learn from this pastime? Anyone else? What can we learn from this pastime? Either on Zoom or here?
I think even if a finished person like Vishnu helps them to get moksha.
Yes, very nice point. Even if you are the most sinful person, you are not devoid of the mercy of the Lord. You may be from any background. Like Bali Maharaj, externally, he was from the background of the demons. But it didn't preclude him from getting the mercy of the Lord. So what does the Lord say in Bhagavad Gita? All people are accepted. One verse from Bhagavad Gita which proves that it doesn't matter which background you are born in, the Lord accepts and delivers everyone. Yes. Mam hi pardha vyapashritya. So let's see, anybody in Zoom can complete that verse. Mam hi pardha vyapashritya. Yepisyuhu tepiyanti param gatim. So anybody can be delivered. So the only quality is we should eagerly surrender to the Lord. So what are the things we can learn from this pastime?
If spiritual master is giving contrary
Ah,
particular.
spiritual master is giving not the right knowledge, not representing the parampara, is not representing scriptures, we can give up the connection. Mm. Correct. Yeah. So the more or less the same point I said. Basically, earlier you should be satisfied with whatever the Lord reciprocates, not have your own agenda. Like Dhruv Maharaj initially had his own agenda, but then he was satisfied when the Lord appeared, and the Lord took care of his material interest as well as spiritual interest. It's a very nice point. The other thing, the spiritual master thing that Vijay Vilasa said, the other end of that, if your spiritual master becomes merciful, you can achieve anything. Like what happened in the case of Bali Maharaj, by the power of the blessing of their guru, he was able to conquer with even the most powerful demigods. But on the other hand, if your guru's blessing is not there, you can become lost. So what is that verse we read in the morning every day? If you have to please Krishna, you have to please somebody. Yes. Dhyayan stuvam stasya yashastri sandhyam vande guru sri charanarabindam. Now to conclude, there's one interesting shloka I found from Bhagavatam. So what it says is, this is 8th canto, 23rd chapter, 31st verse. Whenever the activities of Vamana Dev are described in the course of a ritualistic ceremony, whether the ceremony be performed to please the demigods, to please one's forefathers in Pitruloka, or to celebrate a social event like a marriage, that ceremony should be understood to be extremely auspicious. Now, in the purport, Prabhupada says there are three kinds of ceremonies, specifically ceremonies to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead or the demigods. Those performed for social celebrations like marriages and birthdays, and those meant to please the forefathers, like the Shraddha ceremony. In all these ceremonies, large amounts of money are spent for various activities. But here it is suggested that if, along with this, there is recitation of the wonderful activities of Vamana Dev, certainly the ceremony will be carried out successfully and will be free of all discrepancies. So, when there is a marriage or a birthday, what should we do? There has to be a recitation of the wonderful activities of Vamana Deva. Certainly, the ceremony will be carried out successfully and will be free of all discrepancies. So, any marriage ceremonies here happening or birthdays happening here? Huh? Oh, yeah, there's what a wonderful occasion. So, there is, Mataji has organized this recitation of Vamana Dev to make it special. Anybody else celebrating marriage day or birthdays? So, or in the future, if you want to celebrate, keep this in mind. All right. So, any other final questions? Yeah. No, it's not hellish planets. It's lower planet. It's not hellish planet. Actually, the lower planets, the standard of advancement is much higher than it is present on Earth. It's called Bilaswarga. Bilaswarga means subterranean Swarga. So only on earthly planets we are struggling. Above and below they are all happy. Happy in the sense they have more affluence. That is why they don't take to Krishna consciousness so well. Hellish planets are separate planets where people who are very sinful they are sent. Yeah. There's a separate place for hellish planets.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah, Anil.
You mentioned that when Bali Maharaj, when Bali Maharaj asked it, I mean, when his spiritual master asked not to promise or give to Vamana Deva, and Bali Maharaja knew that it is Vishnu. Was this like, did he know at the time, or because he was in disguise, isn't it? Like he was not aware that he is Vishnu.
Initially he was not aware, but eventually he became aware. Initially he came as Brahmana. He came as a dwarf. At that time he could not.
But like then, okay, when he became aware, then
Yeah,
he said,
yeah.
I will
Right.
obey to what he.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Lord Vamanadev ki jai, Shri Krishna Balram ki jai, Grandharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone.
I wish the Prabhuji, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.